Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a really fun tag video that I wanted to put up, and this is so much fun. This was created by two other YouTubers here, Samantha March and Allie Glines, which Samantha I've been subscribed to for a very long time. I've met her in person as well, and she is super sweet. She's also from Iowa, so I'm kind of partial to her since we're from the same state. And then Allie Glines here, I actually just started watching thanks to Samantha, and I've been really enjoying her content as well. So they created this fun palette tag. I will leave their channels down below, but this is so fun to kind of get an overview of some of my favorites in my collection and my opinions on stuff. Basically, I'm just going to answer these questions and show you guys the palette that goes with the certain questions. Oddly enough, for this video, I am not even wearing an eyeshadow palette, but I did just do this really fresh, glowy look that will be up on my Instagram, so go ahead and head to my Instagram if you want to know all the makeup details. Anyways, the first question here is show your newest palette. Now, I've actually purchased quite a few new palettes lately, but the newest of all of them is definitely my ABH Norvina Volume 4 palette. I just got this last week, and this is so beautiful. I actually have a whole review up of this palette with 3 different looks. If you guys want to check it out, I'll link it down below, but so far, I'm really impressed with this, and I think it's going to be a favorite. This one has some neutral shades, but also a lot of like pink and purple tones, so if you guys like these kind of shades, I feel like this is a great quality palette, and I'm so obsessed with it already. This one is definitely the newest in my collection by maybe a week or two, because I did get quite a few other palettes from the Sephora sale, but yes, this one might be my favorite of all of them so far. So the next question was show your oldest palette, and this was really hard for me because I declutter often with my eyeshadow palettes. Like, I hardly have any of the same palettes since I started on YouTube. I'm constantly decluttering because I like to keep my collection up to date with what's available, and I have to say my oldest palette I figured out is this one, and I don't know if it's cheating because this is a palette that I made, but they do have the oldest eyeshadows in my collection because pretty much everything past 2017 I don't have anymore. So when I was kind of watching my old videos back, I was like, wait, this has to be the oldest because some of these I've had, not all the shadows, but some that I've had in my collection like since 2013, like some of my old MAC shades. So in this palette is all my singles from MAC, Anastasia singles, and also Makeup Geek. It kind of makes me nostalgic too because I feel like everyone used to buy singles and make their own palettes, and now I don't feel like anybody does that anymore. I never really see people reaching for singles, and I personally don't really either. But yeah, it's like the good old MAC days when everyone had every single MAC eyeshadow. It's crazy how times have changed. The next category is the most expensive palette, and surprisingly it's this one. I actually thought this was going to be a tie because I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely my Pat McGrath, but this palette is actually a few dollars more than my Pat McGrath palettes. This was the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, and it is $129, which is insane. And I have to be honest, I'm not like obsessed with this one as I am with some of my other Natasha Denona palettes, just because I feel like there's a lot of repetition here. There's a few shades that just look so similar on the lids. It's kind of hard for me to justify the price of this one, even though the colors are beautiful, and I do wish it had a few more mattes. I don't think it's necessarily worth the price tag as some of my other Natasha palettes are, but it is still really pretty. It's funny because I actually wasn't really ever gonna buy this in the first place, but then after I attended Sephora last year, I got to meet Natasha, and they were promoting this palette at that event, and it kind of made me want to buy it because Natasha was so nice in person, and I just really love her brand. So I think I picked this up during like the last fall VIB sale, so that's kind of the reasoning as for why I bought it. But I don't know, I might end up keeping it around. I may declutter it, maybe try to resell it just because I'm not using it as much. But yeah, this one's definitely a pricey one, that's for sure. The next category is the most affordable palette, and I could have definitely done a tie with this one, but I decided to go with this because one of my other palettes is in a different category, so I kind of wanted to keep it different. But this is actually a palette from W7. I actually got this at TJ Maxx, so I think it counts as my most least expensive palette because it still has the price tag on there of $2.99, which this is the same price as one of my e.l.f. bite-sized palettes at $3, but I decided to put this one as the cheapest. So I wanted to show you, this is a dupe palette for the Huda Beauty Neons. I still need to use this. I was going to do like a comparison. I have not done it yet, and I was kind of waiting since the stores were closed. I didn't know how many people could really get these dupe palettes. It's kind of crazy. I feel like even with drugstore prices, it's hard to find palettes that are that inexpensive. So that one is my least expensive. The next category is show your everyday palette. So this was a hard one. There's a few that I use on the daily, but I have to say my go-to palette is always Natasha Denona Gold. So this is one of the palettes of Natasha Denona that I think is totally worth it for me because I use it all the time. It's my favorite neutral palette, so that's why I called it an everyday palette. Even though the shades are more glam, like they're very metallic, it's still something that I always reach for when I want a neutral look. So this is the shades here. It is all sorts of different gold tones and champagne. It's so beautiful. Plus it has like the teals in there. I love this so much. I talk about it all the time. Definitely my favorite neutral palette in my entire collection, and amazing quality. So I love my gold. I had to put it in this tag. Okay, so next is show your most colorful palette, and I had to go with Jeffree Star Jawbreaker. Jeffree Star definitely has some of the most colorful palettes in my collection in general because I'm not huge on color. I'm a more neutral girl, but this has like every single shade of the rainbow. As you guys can see here, literally all rainbow colors. There's hardly any like neutral shades in here. There's a couple, but yeah, this is something I would go for, like especially in spring and summer. If I would just want something bright, I could do pastel looks with this. It's very easy to use as well. I need to pull it out more, but yeah, it doesn't have a lot of use since I don't wear colors so often, but I kind of feel like I only need a couple very colorful palettes in my collection, and this one's pretty much going to be a staple for many years. I feel like you could do some really unique looks with it. It has a ton of mattes to work with. The shades are very blendable, and it has a few metallics in there as well. So that one is the most colorful for sure. Okay, so for my smallest palette, I decided to pick my e.l.f. palette. I would say these are the smallest size in my collection as far as a palette goes. They do have 4 shades, and they're called the bite-sized palettes, which is the perfect name for these. I love it. This is my favorite one that I have in Pumpkin Pie. It's beautiful. These are amazing quality. These also could be in my most affordable section since these are only $3. You can find them at Target, Ulta, elfcosmetics.com. They're incredible. You guys have to try them if you haven't. They're very easy to do a look with, although you can't do a ton with it. It's an easy throw on and go kind of thing since it only has 4 shades, 2 mattes, 2 shimmers, but I love these. I think I have just about everyone except for a couple of them, and I am obsessed with them. I don't even know if there is anything smaller than these, so let me know if you guys have something that's technically a palette that's even smaller than this. I guess 2 shades would be a palette, so if you guys have anything smaller, let me know. Alright, so next category is the biggest palette, and I chose my Jaclyn Hill palette because overall it is the biggest in my collection. It's not like the thickest. The thickest was actually Jeffree Star Bloodlust, but I decided to go with this because it was pretty much the tallest, if that makes sense. But this is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette, and I've had this for a while. I don't know, I just can't get rid of it. It's kind of a classic for me. I used to really love this. I haven't used it so much anymore, but I don't know, I have a lot of love for it. When it came out, it was one of my go-tos. I have your cool tones, warm tones, so it was just kind of an all-in-one palette, and she really did a great job with this. I never picked up the second one. I don't know. I'm still always debating if I want to declutter this eventually just because I'm not using it so much anymore, and it's very messy, dirty kind of palette. I wish it had a mirror in it, but I don't know. It's really hard for me since I did have so much love for it. But yeah, this is the biggest palette in my collection, and there's so many shades in here, and it takes up so much room in my makeup drawer. The next category, which I think is really cool, it is show your palette with the best memory. So I don't know. I could never think of like what I'm wearing when I'm having like a crazy moment in my life, but I do remember like receiving this palette was a really cool memory for me, so I did include the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. I kind of talked about this in my ranking Too Faced palettes, but basically this was one of my first big PR packages I ever received, and at this time I was obsessed with Too Faced. Too Faced was everything. I like recently saw them at a Gen Beauty convention. I emailed with their PR person and somehow I got on like their PR list, but I didn't really know, and I had received this giant peach package in the mail. I just couldn't believe it that I had somehow got on Too Faced PR list, and then I got this package of anything with this collection that was like so hard to get, and it just meant the world. I was so happy. I was crying, like literal tears. I was on Snapchat. I wish I still had the stories saved. I don't know. I never saved them. I wish I did, just because it was a nice memory. I loved this palette for so long, and it just has a really special place in my heart, and I'll always love Too Faced for that, just because they kind of believed in me when I was smaller, and just to have your favorite brand recognize you is the most incredible feeling. And I don't know, I kind of miss those days when that was so new. Like nowadays I do receive a lot of PR and it's amazing, but I don't know, I kind of miss when I only got like one package here and there, and it meant so much at the time. Although I did have to get a new one because I don't know, I never feel comfortable keeping my palettes for too long, so I ended up buying another one to replace it, just to have a fresh one, so it's not the OG. But I do still have a great memory associated with this palette, and I'll probably always have it in my collection, I think. I love the shades in it as well. I love peachy tones, even though there's not a ton of peach in here, there's still a lot of neutrals. So yeah, that one holds a special place in my heart. The next category is show a palette worth the hype. So this one's kind of hard because I feel like there's so many palettes that I love, but I don't feel like they're actually hyped up, you know? I feel like these days it's hard to actually have hype carry for a long time. With so many new releases, people will be talking about it for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then you don't hear about it anymore. But I feel like something that people still are hyping up and talking about is the Tati palette, the volume 1, and this one was definitely worth the hype for me. I think it's a beautiful formula, and there's a lot that you could do with it. I love that she has all the different textures. So you have like your mattes, you have your sequin, your metallics, and your glitter. So there's so much that you can do with it, and so many different finishes. I thought that was really nice. Plus you have just about every neutral shade that you need and can create any look with. I'm pretty sure I have a review on this if you guys want me to link it down below. But yeah, I'm curious to see if she does another palette, what she's going to come up with next. Obviously this is volume 1, so I assume there will be more volumes, but this one is definitely 100% worth the hype for me. Okay, so as you can guess, the next category is not worth the hype. Now, I don't know if this palette is necessarily hyped up, but it's just a palette that I'm not super impressed with in my collection, and it is the Anastasia Amrezi palette. I've kind of touched on this before, but I bought it. I was so excited because it's kind of pinks and neutrals, which I'm all about. So I've been using it some, and I'm not feeling this like color story. I feel like the matte shades don't really go with the other shades in the palette, especially these two. Like there's 2 shades in here that are bright orange, and I feel like they don't match with many of the looks. Plus it has 2 of these chunky glitters that I don't really use either. And then there's like a random blue in here. So I kind of wish that they made these mattes more cool toned. I feel like it would fit the palette a lot better. I'm not sure why they decided to go with those. Quality wise, the palette is okay, but I can't get over the color story. I don't really reach for it a ton, and I would definitely recommend the Norvina palette over this 100%. The color stories are kind of similar. I feel like you could get the same idea if you went for this one instead of Amrezi. I could see this one going on sale soon, so that one for me is not really worth the next category was show your favorite palette from a favorite brand. Now, I have a lot of favorite brands, but I did want to go with ColourPop for this one because I haven't mentioned any ColourPop palettes yet, and I have a lot of them. My favorite palette from ColourPop, of course, it's a neutral palette. It's the Going Coconuts palette. This is so stunning. I love my makeup every time I use this. This is more kind of cool tone neutrals. I think it is beautiful, amazing quality, and such a great price as well. So that's why I collect so many ColourPop palettes and I use them often. The only issue I have with these is that the pans kind of fall out easily, which is annoying because then sometimes the like shimmers will fall out and it's not fun. But overall, this is definitely my favorite palette from ColourPop, and I have a lot of ColourPop palettes, so that is saying a lot. But you guys know me, I always pick my neutral ones because it's something that you could use every single day no matter what the occasion. And yeah, this one's stunning. I hope that it's not limited edition and that they can keep this around forever because it's definitely a must-have. And then the very last category is is show your most used palette. Now this one was definitely hard as well, but I decided to go for this one from Tarte. This one is the Love, Trust, and Fairy Dust eyeshadow palette. It's a well-loved palette from me. If you guys can see, I have so many different like chunks missing from it. I've used this so much. Like I got it I think 2 years ago. I know when I first moved into this house is when I got this, and I used it like every single day. I was obsessed, and I really love the color story here. I think that you can still get this. I might be on Tarte's site in the clearance section still. I'm debating if I need to pick up like a new one, but I don't know. I know they're gonna discontinue it anyway soon, so get it while you can. It's so good. It has this really pretty berry tones. It's almost like Anastasia Modern Renaissance vibes, but I feel like it's better quality. And I know so many people either love or hate Tarte, but I really do think they do make some great palettes, and this is one of the good ones. Plus, can you even get over this packaging? Like, this is probably my favorite packaging ever with this glitter. They did such a good job. I miss like the really cute palettes Tarte was doing in the past. I feel like they've kind of stopped because I loved like their mermaid palette, their Aspen Ovard collection. They did the unicorn palette. I feel like those were all so good. I don't know why they stopped and kind of went a different direction, but yes, this one is definitely, I would say, my most used out of everything I have in my collection. Alright, so I think that is everything in the eyeshadow palette tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys also have a channel, I definitely encourage you to also do this video. I think it is so much fun, and you can get a better idea of some of my favorite palettes and my opinions of some of these items in my collection. But I will go ahead and let you guys go. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye guys.
Colorblind, yeah.